industry when it comes to the idea of scripts. And we just came off of a huge online seminar. There was over 1,000 people that attended it. And we had a whole section on scripts and dialogues, when to use scripts, when not to. And so I thought we had a really good question come in, Rose. So if you could just read the question to the audience and we can go from there.
Perfect. So how important is it to use a script when calling FSBOs and expireds? And this person who asked said, I'm not a big script person, but I don't know if it's holding me back.
No, that's good. So there's a lot of people train this idea of scripts. I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there about scripts and how they're supposed to be used and what the difference between like a script is and a dialogue. And after over 15 years of training, I would say 10,000 salespeople in some way, shape, or form, specifically in the real estate industry, when it comes to using scripts, there's three big problems that I see. So the first one is realtors don't use a script at all. So what they do is they just go into a call and they try to wing it, right? And that's a big problem because if you don't know what you're going to say, and especially if you don't have a lot of experience making calls over the phone or interacting with for sale by owners or expireds, if you don't know what you're saying and you're thinking about what you're going to say, you're going to get rolled. I don't know how else to say. You're going to get smashed in the head. You're going to not want to make calls after, a couple sessions of prospecting because you're just going to get a lot of rejection. And so not using a script at all, I don't think is the answer. The other problem I see, which a lot of coaches train it, is they'll stick a script in front of a realtor and they'll say, just read this verbatim and you sound like a freaking robot. And, that's a bigger problem because who wants to be on the phone with a robot? What do we do to robots? We hang up on them, right? So when we hear automated voice messages and all this stuff, we don't want to hear that. And the other thing is the expectation of communication by phone is much higher. So because the amount of phone calls that homeowners get, or I just would say people get in general, if they're talking to somebody that is just sounds canned and they don't sound like a human being, there's just zero tolerance for people to listen to that nowadays. So I would say that just like a lot of other things, it's not one extreme or the other. So the answer is not like, okay, I need perfect scripts and I need to read those scripts verbatim. And then on the other extreme is like, I don't use scripts and you just don't have a script in front of you at all. Really, there's a bigger issue. And that's my third point is what you need to do is have a framework that works. And what I mean by a framework is you have a script and a dialogue that's built into that framework that is proven to convert. And I teach 7 steps on prospect and lead conversion mastery. What we'll do afterwards, we'll drop a link below if you want to get access to a free version of my sales and marketing playbook. There's a whole section in there called prospecting and lead conversion mastery. And what I teach in there is there's essentially 7 fundamentals of prospecting and lead conversion when it comes to for sale by owners and expireds. And if you really get these fundamentals built into your scripts, and then you get those scripts memorized, then when you're on the phone with your prospect, you don't have to think about what you're going to say, and you're going to be more in tune in the conversation. And that's key. The key is that you have to have your scripts and your dialogues and your objections internalized and memorized. Meaning, you wouldn't go into a football game without knowing your plays. So, for example, if the quarterback called an audible and they use some hand signal or whatever, you better darn know what that audible means, right? Or else you're going to be running a play that makes absolutely no sense. And that's the biggest problem I would say in our industry is not so much do we use scripts, do we not use scripts, is you don't know the play. You don't even know what the play is going to be. And so what happens is when you don't know what the play is going to be, you're so nervous because you don't know what direction to go. So when they throw out, I'm not interested, or they throw out, oh, well, I got to talk to my spouse, or they say, who is this? Are you a realtor? And they give you a knee jerk. We don't know what the play should be, right? And what I mean by the play, I mean, we don't know how to respond back. And so now it throws the whole the whole play, the whole process off. And if you look at a really good football team, they're all working in unison. And a good phone call is a lot like that. It's a bit of there's a lot of art and science. It's a bit of a dance is the only way I can explain it. Is you can have the words on paper, you can keep going down through it, but here's what I tell you: if you don't know how to dance right with whatever's happened with that phone call, you're screwed. You're not going to get the results you want. And so I know it's a little bit of hard truth, but I just want to be real about this topic, because if it was just as easy as reading off a script, every realtor would be a millionaire, right? Because you can find scripts anywhere. I mean, don't get me wrong, my scripts are darn good. We've made 60,000 appointments and moved billions of dollars to the industry with those scripts. But I could give that script, if they don't have that memorized and internalized, and they don't know how to humanize that script, it doesn't matter, right? So just to kind of sum this up, bro, it's not about script or no script. It's about memorizing your scripts, your objections, and knowing your plays. And that way, when you're in the situation and you're fighting with a sword, okay, you don't get killed. That's what it's about. And I think that'll help our audience out. I think it's a great question. I can't stand when people are like, read scripts, and I can't stand other people like, you don't need a script, right? It's these extremes, and that's the problem with our freaking industry. It's always extremes, and we got to get away from that habit. It's not one thing or the other. It's usually the truth lies somewhere in between. And thank you for our audience for asking that question. I think it's a really, really good question.
Yeah, and I think a good point too is, like, I'm personally a very nervous caller because I don't do it a lot. Right. So if I just were to go in blind, the first like objection or somebody, I'd be like, okay, and you have to have that plan. And I find, like, even as someone starting out calling, like in the very beginning, it keeps you in line and on point, because you're going to get thrown off because you never know what you're going to get. So I think it's super helpful.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Ro. It's like if you were to start golfing and you never took golf lessons and you go out there and try to swing it, it's going to feel very uncomfortable. The ball's going to go flying everywhere. But if you start off with a pathway, with 5, 6, 7 steps as a pathway, and you stick to that pathway, it's going to be go a little bit smoother, right? So Definitely. That's a really good point, Ro.
And then I think too, like, utilizing our playbook, reading all the different scripts in there even gives you like a broad like perspective of different topics and different things, and just kind of knowing what people are saying is very helpful too.
Yeah, and that's I'm glad you brought that up, because we laid it out that way. What we did is, if you look at how the scripts are laid out, it goes for sale by owner, and it gives all the language, and then what it'll do is it'll give you all the brush offs and objections that you're going to get. And then it gives you some verbal advantage of some really powerful statements you can make in between objections. So it gives you that framework. And then it does the same thing for expireds. Then it does the same thing for pretty much, for your SOI or circle prospecting. Pretty much any scenario you could think of, it's laid out that way. So you can open the book and pretty much start calling, And it's not to say that you're not going to get rejection. You're not going to go through some of those things. But to your point, it'll give you a head start. Right. It'll give you a framework to not get as much rejection. And what will happen, folks, is you start doing this more consistently, you're going to be in a position where you get better and better and better. And then it almost becomes a little bit of a game. It's almost like playing chess. And it gets kind of fun because you know what they're going to say. So you know their next move. Right. And so as soon as they say it, you say it back. And now all of a sudden you start landing appointments. You're getting 3, 4, 5 appointments a day. And in real estate, if you're getting 3 to 5 appointments a day, you can pretty much guarantee you're making a phenomenal living. And then if you can duplicate that process out through your team, you're a millionaire over time. You're extremely successful. You'll become a mega agent. So I don't want to oversimplify real estate, but unfortunately or fortunately, real estate is a contact sport. And we talk about a lot of other stuff. And if we're not talking about better ways to make contact and convert appointments, what are we really doing? Right. So awesome. So I think that was a great question. We try to keep these to 15 minutes or less. So Ro, did you have anything else?
All I have is definitely send your questions, #AskIsaiah, or message someone on the team, and we'd love to answer them in the next coming days.
Awesome. Go out there and crush your scripts, get them internalized, and make it happen. I hope everyone has an awesome day.